This is DEM BOYZ, a Dallas Cowboys podcast with Jose Ovalle and Shane Carter.
What's up, guys, and welcome to DEM BOYZ Podcast, a Dallas Cowboys fan podcast. My name is Jose Ovalle, and later on I'll be joined by our Cowboys expert, Shane Carter. We're officially back and better than ever. We talk news about America's team, and we're passionate about sharing it with you. So let's get started. The biggest news of the day will put a smile on any Cowboys fan's face. DeMarcus Ware is retiring a Cowboy. Yes, that's right. D-Ware is finishing his career where it all started. DeMarcus spoke at the Star about how much he wanted to retire in Dallas. This has always been home to me. Where you start at is where you want to finish at. For me, coming back here is a big deal, end quote. After 12 seasons, including 3 in Denver, where he helped lead one of the greatest defenses of all time to a Super Bowl title, the Cowboys' all-time sack leader hangs up his boots. In 2005, Ware was drafted as the 11th overall pick. The pass-rushing monster finished with 117 sacks in a Cowboys uniform. Coach Garrett called him a once-in-a-generation type player. I am more than happy for D-Ware, an amazing career for a future Hall of Famer. Thank you so much, DeMarcus. In other news, Jaylon Smith continues to show progress in his recovery. It has been more than a year since Smith's major knee surgery. Given the talent Dallas lost in the offseason, the Dallas D could really use a player like Jaylon Smith. Cowboys owner GM Jerry Jones even stated that Smith has started feeling sensations in his left foot. His knee injury has nerve damage, causing him to experience foot drop. This is when the muscle that allows flexing is weakened, causing the individual to drag the front of the foot while walking. You definitely can't have that in an NFL linebacker. If Smith recovers, or if he can play in a foot drop brace, his talents will be exceptional on the field. But if he cannot, he will be the biggest bust on the Dallas defense in a long time, maybe even ever. The 2017 schedule was also released last week, so let's take a look. In future episodes, me and Shane will go over each individual game and break it down for you. But for right now, let's just discuss this. So, week 1, we have the New York Giants coming into Dallas. They're pretty tough every year, and they swept us last year, so we'll see what happens. Week 2, the Cowboys head to Mile High to face the Denver Broncos. We still don't know what quarterback's going to be in for them, but we'll see what happens in week 2. Week 3, the Cowboys head to Glendale, Arizona to play the Arizona Cardinals. David Johnson won people fantasy leagues, but not so much in mine. The rest of my team was pretty trash. But I love having DJ, and I'll probably draft him again if I get the chance to. Week 4, the LA Rams head to Arlington, in what should be a pretty great showcase of running backs. Week 5, the Green Bay Packers have a rematch in Dallas after that great postseason win they had. Unfortunately for the Cowboys, but it was a great game to watch. Week 6 is a bye. Week 7, the Cowboys head to the West Coast to play the 49ers. They're rebuilding, so should be an easy win. Week 8, the Cowboys face a familiar foe in the Washington Redskins in Maryland, so they got to go across the country in 1 week. Week 9, the Cowboys play Kansas City in Arlington, so they get to go home, but they're going to play a very, very tough opponent from the AFC. Week 10, the Cowboys head to Georgia and play the Super Bowl runner-up Atlanta Falcons. They're going to be on a mission to head back there, so expect a pretty great game. Week 11, the Cowboys play the Philadelphia Eagles for the first of 2 times in Dallas on NBC. Sunday night. Week 12, Thanksgiving, the Cowboys play the newly Los Angeles Chargers back home. Week 13, the Redskins come to town to the Big D. Week 14, the New York Giants play host to the Dallas Cowboys in East Rutherford. Week 15, the Oakland Raiders host the Cowboys in Oakland, which may be the last time we visit them there. I'm not sure when they'll end up going to Vegas, if it's next year or the following. But I think it's pretty good odds we might not play them there again. On Christmas Eve, the Cowboys play the Seattle Seahawks. And on New Year's Eve, the Cowboys play the Philadelphia Eagles. And that rounds up the 2017 schedule. It's a pretty tough one if you ask me. It can go many different ways. You have losing record, easily go 8-8. Having it, winning the division is doable. It is. The Giants are pretty stacked. The Redskins could or could not be stacked depending on what happens at quarterback. And the Eagles, depending on what happens at the draft, could be stacked as well. The rest of the games are not helping. As you know, the division winner of last year, you have to play all the division winners again of the following year, and that's pretty tough. It's a tough schedule, but we'll see what happens, and I have faith. This next segment's going to have Shane Carter, our Cowboys expert, and he's going to discuss the draft that's coming up this week. So let's listen in. Okay, now we're here with Shane Carter. He's our resident Cowboys expert. You can follow him to see his opinions at Shane Carter TX. That's at Shane Carter TX on Twitter. So you can follow him and see everything he does. He does a couple other things involving the Browns and some other things online, so check him out for sure. But Shane, I know you've been studying film and studying the draft. The Cowboys had a great season last year, but we did lose a lot of players, a lot of important players on the defense. So I know you did a mock draft. How do you think the Cowboys are going to do this weekend?
Well, hey, Joe, it's good to talk to you again. And everyone knows that the Cowboys' weaknesses were along the defensive line, especially edge rushers, and the secondary, strong safety, cornerbacks being the obvious points. Anthony Brown, last year's 6th-round pick out of Purdue, was a huge surprise to everybody else. But one guy doesn't fix an entire defense, and they've lost 2 corners and both of our strong safeties in the defense this year. And this year in my mock draft, I address all that, including some extra picks at the end that helps them out in terms of depth. So let's get started. First overall pick, I had them selecting Charles Harris, defensive end out of Missouri. Now, a lot of people think that he probably fit more as an outside linebacker in a 3-4 system instead of a defensive end in a 4-3 system. But what he does bring is the typical right side defensive end, what you want. For those that don't know, a left end is more like your power guy. Your power guy is going to push off the line and go against the right tackle, because most of the time your quarterback's right-handed, so their blind side is to the left.
Sure.
And the right hand. And so that means you want you guys to be the fastest one, the guys who's going to get around the left tackle, supposed to be the best offensive lineman on the team. And that's where the speed comes in. And Charles Harris has some of the best speed in the game. He ran a pretty impressive 4.82 40-yard dash, and he's been known as Black Ice.
Black Ice.
He's called Black Ice, like the AC/DC album. and he has one of the sweetest spin moves you will see. And in 2016, he actually had a really, really nice year despite a 4-8 season. He had 12 tackles for loss, 9 sacks. He had all SEC honors, and it was a great season for him. A lot of people have had him going a little bit higher. I expect him to possibly be one of those guys that shouldn't fall, but probably will fall.
Okay.
And if he lands at 28, then he'd be one of the ideal picks for them to get.
Do you think, real quick, to piggy off of that, do you think he's going to fall because maybe some teams won't be impressed by him, or do you think other teams are going to jump for maybe like the more like starry players, like some of the running backs or quarterbacks, and he'll end up falling, and the Cowboys could benefit because of that?
Well, part of that has to do with not necessarily his ability. He's definitely worth a first-round pick. It's more along the lines of, like you said, some of the players that aren't as deep at a position, such as like a running back or something like that. They want to get the flash pick first, like a Leonard Fournette or a John Ross, who ran the 4.22 40. Now, Charles Harris in any other draft would be a top 20 pick, and the Cowboys had no shot at him. But because this draft is so deep at first round and second round defensive ends, not necessarily anything outside of that, Charles Harris is in a group of people such as like a Myles Garrett, a Solomon Thomas, a Tack McKinley at UCLA. So guys like that are probably going to go before him, and if he's able to fall enough, the Cowboys have a chance to get one of the faster rushers on the outside.
All right, that's exciting. What do you got for round 2?
Round 2, I have Jaylon Tabor, the cornerback from Florida. A lot of people are kind of confused about him because he ran a 4.62 40, which is not ideal for a cornerback, but his game speed is elite. He plays a lot faster than it looks. And really, at one time, people had him rated as the number 1 cornerback in the draft. And it's easy to see why. His size, 6 foot, 200 pounds. His good arm length, about 32-inch range. And in the last year, with his third-team All-American season, third-team All-American coming with the Cowboys. He had 6 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, and interceptions is something the Cowboys sorely need.
Yeah, we would love that.
And anytime they, if you notice the last couple of years, the Cowboys have not done well in the second round. There's high hopes for Jaylon Smith, and Sean Lee's probably the exception. But you look at Randy Gregory, you look at DeMarcus Lawrence, guys haven't really panned out or played to what they're supposed to. Everyone has high hopes for Jalen Tabor, and if he falls to the Cowboys there, it's great not only as a cornerback, but as a great value pick.
Okay, awesome. What else you got?
And third round, I have them fixing up the one technique, the nose tackle with big boy Montravius Adams, defensive tackle out of Auburn. Now, he's not my favorite defensive tackle. My favorite defensive tackle is Jaleel Johnson from Iowa, who's supposed to get drafted around the same range. My fear is that he's going to go before the Cowboys have a chance to get him. And if that's the case, I'd like Montravius Adams to be the next guy to come up. He's 6'4", 310 pounds, big boy. But for a guy who's 310 pounds, he ran a 4.8, 740. And if you remember, that's not that far off from where Charles Harris, the guy who I haven't taken first overall, is getting. He earned third-team All-SEC honors last year and had 3 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, and showed really his potential as being a top 5 overall defensive tackle in this draft, and could end up being one of the better ones to come out.
That's really exciting. So you're trying to get a lot of speed on the defense.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's speed that you wouldn't expect, considering how big he is. If you remember last year, Malik Collins, he was 310 pounds too, a little bit short, about 6'2", but he had great off the line bursts, and that's what Montravius Adams really gives him, is that first step, which is what you want from a good defensive tackle. First step, arms up, attack the center or attack the guard to get to the quarterback. He's not a defensive tackle like Gerald McCoy, who's going to get you 10 solo sacks a year, but he could be a guy that gets you about 5 and causes a couple fumbles, and definitely shores up what I think is the weakest spot on the defensive line in the one technique. And pairing him with Collins makes that a nasty tackle combo.
Well, those first 3 picks sound pretty good, and if the night goes or those 2 first nights go like that, I think the Cowboys are going to have a pretty good draft. What else do you have?
Well, as I said before, one of the bigger needs they have also in the secondary is strong safety. And one guy that I really like, that I started to like a lot more, is Xavier Woods out of Louisiana Tech. He's a little undersized, about 5'11", 200 pounds, but he has a really good length, and he's really good at producing tackles, tackles for loss, interceptions, pass breakups. He's really good at the coverage scheme. It's more along the lines of like the fact that he is undersized. He needs to be able to bulk up, because at 200 pounds, you're not playing Louisiana Lafayette or whatever every single week. You're going against New York, you're going against Philadelphia, so he's gonna have to size up to the size of a running back at least. And if he's at 200 pounds, he'll only need to gain about 10 or 15 pounds. But he needs to be able to do that and play to his speed, because if not, he's gonna get run over. And if he can do that, they'll have themselves a steal in the 4th round.
Okay. So far, all defense. Are you looking at the other side of the ball at all, or do you want to just go straight defense for the whole draft?
Well, that comes up, but my next pick won't be till the 6th round.
Okay.
And that's in a project pick. Jerry Jones, as you know, said that he wouldn't take any sort of redshirt players. But one guy they might consider is a guy who is coming off an ACL tear, and cornerback Jeremy Clark from Michigan. His size is amazing for a cornerback, 6'3", 220. But he didn't test the 40 or any of his speed at the combine. But everyone knows, like the ones that played at least, that he had a pretty decent career in Michigan before he tore his ACL. Obviously, now he's not the same cornerback as another Michigan cornerback coming out there, named Jordan Lewis, who's healthier and considered one of the better cornerbacks in the draft. But Jeremy Clark not only gives them depth at the cornerback position, but a project and a big body back there that Rod Marinelli really likes, and big corners, 6'3", 220, obviously. He'll have to get over the injury, obviously, but that gives the Cowboys an option to build around an extra body back there in the secondary.
Okay, that sounds pretty good too. It's an exciting pick. We know that this organization likes to reach for those exciting players.
Mm-hmm. In round 7, we have 2 picks, obviously. The first pick, and these are both offensive picks. I know you're all about offense.
Yep.
In this first pick, I have a player that people are kind of overlooking, but I think will be a great fit for the Cowboys. And the reason why is you'll hear his school and you'll understand exactly why. Fred Ross, wide receiver from Mississippi State, the same school as one Dak Prescott.
All right, I like it so far.
Fred, as they call him, the boss, Ross, was Dak Prescott's best target during his time there, and actually earned all SEC recognition while he was there. He had 88 receptions, 1,007 yards, 5 scores. But with Prescott gone, obviously he had to step up and be really the only guy. he scored more touchdowns. He had like 12 touchdowns in this past year, but unfortunately it was more because it was put on him and not so much that he was able to stand out that much. Now the problem a lot of people don't like is that his speed is less than ideal for a guy his size. He's 6'1", 6'2", 214, 15 pounds. And with a guy like that, you want him to be a little faster because he's a little bit lighter. He ran a 4.51 at the combine. His bench press is only about 10 reps, so he's not very strong. But what he does do is he has really great hands, and like 9 times out of 10 he'll catch the ball. And while he doesn't have straightaway speed, he has side-to-side speed, which means he's able to elude guys a little better.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. Go ahead.
But one thing that he is gonna have to learn how to do, he and Xavier Woods are both kind of gained a little bit of weight, because while 6'2", 215 would be okay in the NFL, it isn't if you're not physical with it. So if he wants to get physical, he's have to gain a little bit of weight. If he does, then Dak Prescott has a familiar target in Fred Ross and a steal in the 7th round.
How do you think the Cowboys will use him? I know, our strength is kind of dink and dunk passes, especially since Dak is so accurate. Do you think a guy like that would be perfect?
Well, where he really comes in handy is not just familiarity with the quarterback, because a lot of the stuff that he does is the same stuff that like a Bryce Butler or Des Bryant do. They don't run complicated routes, but they come down with the ball when needed, and they have really reliable hands. And where I think what he would fall is he immediately would supplant Lucky Whitehead as the 5th receiver and could possibly even take over the 4th, passing of Bryce Butler. But that's more because, like I said, the familiarity with Dak Prescott. And a lot of times people underestimate like having familiarity with the quarterback and drafting teammates, but sometimes that really helps. If you remember back to the 2012 draft when the Colts selected Andrew Luck, the next pick they made was his best target at Stanford, Coby Fleener. And sometimes having that guy there can really help you advance. And having Fred Ross and Dak Prescott there together can help them out with each other.
Definitely. And I do like getting another receiver. We have a good bunch, but the more the merrier.
My final pick is actually more to help the return game and even like add some speed to the backfield, and that's running back Tariq Cohen from North Carolina A&T. He's from a Division II school and isn't very big, but they give him a nickname called the Human Joystick. And why that is because even though he's about 5'6", 5'7", 175, 180 pounds, is because, being a Tech grad, someone by the name of Jakeem Grant, a guy that's not very big, but because he's so fast and so shifty, you're not going to take him down.
Yeah, you can't stop him.
Yeah, this guy was a third-team All-American and actually the MAC's all-time leading rusher. He had 5,619 yards. He's the Offensive Player of the Year in that division. He set a school record with 1,588 yards, 19 touchdowns. This guy was insane, even despite being so short. But because he's a 7th-round pick, is obviously because of the level of competition they played. No one knows what it's going to be like. So what he gives you with his 4.4 240, the speed there raises an eyebrow. What he gives you is side-to-side return, receiving out the backfield, and third down back type of depth. Obviously, I don't expect Alfred Morris to be there much longer. In fact, if I were a betting man, I would bet they trade him on draft day to get a 6th or a 5th-round pick. And there could be someone here that I'm not looking at that they get. But if Tariq Cohen's available in the 7th round, I'd like the Cowboys to get him and get maybe a flashier, healthier version of Lance Dunbar. Obviously not as big, but it could be a huge benefactor in the return game, which is something they really need.
Yeah, we need a little spark back there, definitely. Okay. Do you got any other final words to touch on in the draft?
I do, and that is that any Cowboys fans watching, what we've come to learn is that Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Coach Garrett, and all of them, they know what they're doing in the 1st round. You look at the past couple of drafts, they've usually hit the nail on the head, other than Morris Claiborne, even though the last couple of years he's lived up to it, in the 1st round. The 2nd round is where you really want to pay attention because that is when we get our next guy up. And as I told you before, the 2nd round has not necessarily been a big friend to the Cowboys. Huge hopes for Jaylon Smith, but Sean Lee has been the only one really in a while that's been worth it. They've gotten a lot of value at 3 through 7, but it's been spotty. Not every time you're going to come down and find a Dak 4th round or an Anthony Brown in the 6th. But they should be hopeful because of how deep this class is at secondary and tight ends and other positions. So I'd rather the Cowboys and the Cowboys fans to not reach, not feel the pressure, and feel optimistic about the team they have still and the depth that they can build around with this draft.
It's all to get younger. That's what Jerry said. Okay, thanks for stopping by, Shane. It's good talking to you again. and I hope we get to do this for quite a while. But you have a good one.
All right, thanks, man. Take care.
And that was Shane Carter. He's our Cowboys expert and dropping some knowledge on the draft this week. It's going to be pretty exciting, and I hope to hear from you guys to see on what you guys think about the draft. Feel free to subscribe on YouTube at DEM BOYZ Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at DEM BOYZ Podcast. Again, I'm Jose Ovalle. You can follow me on Twitter at AmorandCupofJoe, and you can follow Shane on Twitter at ShaneCarterTX for all your sports news. But thanks again for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
This is DEM BOYZ, a Dallas Cowboys podcast with Jose Ovalle and Shane Carter.